Hi, everyone. Since I don't know who's going to be watching this or not watching this, I thought I'd better introduce myself to you since we may not have met. My name is Derry, and I am at the church right now with my good friend Steve Wallace, who's recording this for me. And I want to just tell you right off the bat that I am really intimidated about doing this. But since Steve is such a good friend to me, he's promised me that he is going to do his very best to make me look really young and really beautiful and really, really smart. So I figure I don't have anything to lose. But Steve, I'm not going to hold you to that. So when I'm not here recording, because you know I do that all the time, I am at home just like you are. Well, maybe not exactly, because I am working a few hours during the day, but who knows how long that's going to last. The rest of the time I'm just at home, trying to stay in my pajamas as long as I can. And Gary and I are watching a lot of old movies that we love and some that we never had a chance to watch originally. I'm doing some baking, and we're doing some puzzling. Actually, Gary's doing most of the puzzling because I get to do what I really love to do, and that's read. So having said that, when I was asked to do this, I wondered what I would have to say to you, since my life is so not exciting these days. But I learned a long time ago that if I'm asked to serve, it's always best to say yes to God, because it usually works out better that way. And besides, if it doesn't work, it's his fault and not mine, right? Okay, so here we go. So when I was thinking about what I could say to you, I realized the only way I could do this is for me just to picture you sitting across from me, 6 feet away, obviously, and us just having a conversation. And I was going to just tell you some of the things that I've been thinking about during this difficult and sometimes scary time. And maybe you've been thinking some of the same things too. One of the things that I was thinking about, actually again this morning, because I wake up every morning to Good Morning America, and they always have all the news of the day. And as I was listening to them, I realized that we are learning a lot of new phrases and words and acronyms that we never knew before. For instance, we all know now what COVID-19 means, right? And years from now, we're still going to remember what COVID-19 meant, and it's going to be part of our history, because years from now and years from then, other generations are going to know what COVID-19 meant also. And then there's the PPE. They kept saying that the hospitals and the clinics needed more PPE, and I finally learned that that means personal protection equipment. And then there's the social distancing, and I'm pretty sure that this is a new coined phrase, because I don't ever remember hearing that one before. And then there's the shelter in place, which honestly, coming from a military family, meant something different back in the day, because when I was raised, if we heard something about sheltering in place, we knew that that meant this is something we needed to do, because the enemy was coming to probably bomb us. But today, there's another word that I've been thinking a lot about. And this is a word that we're all really familiar with, and the word is rest. And these days, I'm realizing that I don't think I ever really understood exactly what that word meant as it relates to God and my relationship with Him. And a lot of what I've been thinking about regarding rest has to do with a couple of verses in the Bible that you may or may not be familiar with. I actually wasn't familiar with one of them. But both of them were written by men who knew a lot about stress and about being tired and worn out and fearful and needing a break from all the pressures that they were under. The first one was written by Solomon in Psalm 127, verse 2. And he says, "It is useless for you to work so hard from early morning until late at night, anxiously waiting for food to eat. And I'll stop there for a minute because I thought, well, wait, that's our life in Silicon Valley, isn't it? Those of us that are working outside of our homes are working all day, and then we're coming home and working into the night. And if you're home watching children, that's never ending. And so we are stressed because we're working so late and anxious about food that we're going to put on the table. And actually now, these days, we're anxious about, is there even going to be food in the grocery stores when we go there? And then if there is, or we can even have money to buy it. But he says it's useless for us to work so hard and to worry about these things because, he says, for God gives rest to his loved ones. God gives rest to his loved ones. And I love that because, for two reasons. In the first half of that phrase, for God gives rest. And it reminded me again that God is intimately aware of me, and he knows exactly what I need. He knows what my body needs. He knows what I need mentally and spiritually and emotionally, and he is there to give me rest. And then the last part of that phrase, for God gives rest to his loved ones. I love that. Because when I think of my loved ones, I think about my husband, Gary. I think about my 3 beautiful children. I think about my precious, precious grandchildren. And I think of my really good friends, and they are my loved ones. And I would do anything, and I would give anything to them if I could. And so to think about this phrase, these words, saying God thinks about us as his loved ones. It's more than just family. It's more than just that we're his children, but we are his loved ones. And it's such an intimate phrase to me. I love that part of that verse. And then the other verse that I've been thinking about is in Psalm 55. And that one was written by David. And it started out with verses 1 and 2 with David saying, listen to my prayer, O God. Do not ignore my plea. Hear me and answer me. My thoughts trouble me and I'm distraught. And when I read that, I thought, been there and done that too many times. How many times have I said, oh God, please hear my plea. Hear my prayer. Don't ignore me. I need to hear answers from you. My thoughts are all over the place, and I'm so upset right now. And then David goes on to tell God all the things that are bothering him and why he's afraid and the things that are troubling him and causing him stress. And this is a man who is clearly at the end of his rope. But then the verses that really resonated with me in this psalm are in verses 6 and 7. And this is David speaking. He said, I said, oh, that I had wings of a dove. I would fly away and be at rest. I would flee far away and stay in the desert. I would hurry to my place of shelter, far from the tempest and storm. When I read those verses, I realized how many times I have thought or said those very words. And maybe you have too. I have wondered, what do I need to do to have a break? I'm so busy, I'm so stressed, I just need a break. Haven't you thought that too? Or how many times have I said, if I could just get on a plane right now, I'd fly to Hawaii and find a beach somewhere where I could just leave all the stress and pressure behind. I know I've said that, and I think some of you have too because I've heard you. Or as David would say, oh, to have the wings of a dove so I could fly away from all of this and get some rest in the desert. Well, now my choice would be the beach, but to each his own, right? I have to believe that many, if not most of you, like me, have lives that are overcommitted, too fast-paced, or too busy, and we just don't stop to find the rest that God wants us to have. Remember what I read to you in Psalm 55? It's useless for us to work so hard and worry about all these things because God gives rest to his loved ones. And those loved ones are you and me. And so what I've been learning is that even when I do try to get away for a quick vacation or take a few days off or try to lighten or ease my schedule, those brief periods are really not the kind of rest that God calls us to when he says, "Come to me, all that you are weary. Come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Because in truth, in fact, when we do run off to vacation sometimes, we'll often come back saying, "I need a rest from my vacation," because we pack so much into the vacation that we're tired when we get back, or maybe even more tired than before we left. And then what do? We jump right back into our hectic routines, and then we wonder why we feel stressed all the time. Does that sound familiar to you? I hope so. I hope I'm not the only one feeling that. So, all of that to say that because of this time of forced quarantine and social distancing, when my routine has been interrupted and I'm not able to do those critically important things that keep me so busy and often so stressed, I think I'm beginning to get a glimpse of what truly resting in God is all about. And guess what? I like it. Because you know what? I found out that contrary to what I guess I thought, the world really does not revolve around me. And I know you would tell me that, but would I listen? Probably not. But guess what? Have you figured out that the world doesn't revolve around you either? If you have, isn't that such a freeing concept? I'm finding out that if I don't do certain things, or if I can't go certain places, and if I can't fulfill the responsibilities that I thought were so important, it really is okay. And here's the best part. I am happy. And I'm finding out what it feels like to relax and to rest. And I'm really beginning to enjoy that feeling. And so instead of worrying about what's coming next with this whole virus thing and wondering when it's going to end, or even looking for answers about the future, I'm at peace. And I'm learning this, that to truly rest in God means to listen to him without so many distractions that usually drown out his voice. It means to let go of so many things that I thought were so important and find out that God really is able to handle things without me. Now that's a humbling thought. And to know what he meant by his words, "Be still and know that I am God." And I think for me, maybe sometimes I just need times like this in forced quarantine to help me learn those true meanings of those verses that I can recite, like that one, "Be still and know that I am God." I know verses like that, I can recite them, but maybe I just need times like this to help me learn those true meanings. And I am so sorry for so many of us who might be struggling and severely impacted financially or otherwise by these events. And I do pray for you. I pray for your health, and I pray for your peace of mind as God brings you to my mind. But my prayers are also that in the midst of this storm, God is giving you his rest, so that when this is all over, we can look back and we can realize that our relationship with him was deepened because we found him faithful to his promise to be our shelter in the storm and to give rest to his loved ones. Thank you for listening today. I hope maybe the verses that I shared with you will have as much meaning as they did to me. Have a great day and a great rest of your week.